All right, let's get this started. Let's do a little review of the previous week and then look at all the stuff that we can trade in this coming week. Man, last week I was fighting bronchitis, so my videos suck, but looks like I'm falling sick again. God damn it! This is what happens when you throw up family parties and one of these people are sick. You know, I guess it is what it is. But all right, let's take a look. So it was funny. I was at 340 in terms of my account balance, and then I went up back to 440. So essentially break even for last week, but I made some fucking stupid calls, man. I had some good calls and I had some dumb calls. My AUD CAD, man, I held on way too long. You know, I tried to play. I mean, again, it's one of those things where I'm definitely going to place this trade 9 times out of 10, right? So let's go up to the 4 hour. I'll show you what like how I fucked up. So I saw this kind of, you know, local uptrend, right? If you really zoom out, it's kind of in a downtrend. So for example, if you go to the daily, AUD CAD is in very much a downtrend. Very much a very clear downtrend, right? So I'm like, all right, overall, you're looking for positions where you're going to start trading down. So this would be like right over here. But this was before I started placing the trade. Once it came down here, I'm like, this big up move, right? We're going to catch at least half of this bar. At least it'll go up here. So that's what I was trying to do. And once I saw the pattern, so as you can see over here, if you go down to the 1 hour, you can see it's slowly coming down, but right over here, it started to bounce, right? And you go down to the 15 minute. And this is kind of how you, at least how I normally place trades. You got to forget all this stuff because it didn't happen. Look at this. Massive candle. Let's get rid of this triangle for a second. Look at that. Huge bar, right? I figured once it comes back down, I'll buy some. And I had like 5, 6, 7 positions. I cashed out here. So I made this trade and it was good. I was all gravy, right? Now, if you see here, there's a little triangle pattern going, which I just erased, right? But it broke out from the upside. So when it tested again, right over here, right, just around that base of that, all this action over here, I entered a whole bunch of buys again. And holy shit, lo and behold, it destroyed me, man. It took out 3, 4, 5 positions or something like that, and it bumped me back under. I think I was at like 175. And the funny thing is, my Nasdaq trade where I made the video, and if you want to see that video, I'll put it up here. I mean, it's the week's already gone, but right. So in this Nasdaq call, man, I had this thing down, man. Like I really called this one. So for example, I called it over here. I said, yeah, it might have a little bit of bounce. I took that bounce. So if you notice here, I put a little small position and I cashed in. That was good, man. Look right here. This position right here, I cashed in. It was around 20 bucks, which is like a big boost for my account. And that's great, right? And then I entered another one here and I lost like $7 or $8. So, you know, whatever. But these bounces are really based on that whole thing that I was talking about, where if you look on the 4 hour, see these reactions here? You're really trading on the off the wicks of it, right? So I put like a buy order right over here on the wick. And look at that entry. Man, I've been getting some real good entries here, and I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. My problem right now is I don't know how long to hold. Like, it's hard for me to tell. So what I end up doing is I end up adding, and then I either break even or I take big losses because I'm like, after it goes into the red, I just continue to hold instead of closing. So maybe I should close it. But that's one of those things that I got to work on. Because look at that. That's a fucking good entry. That's like, wow. There's barely any price action underneath this little bar. Right, so it's like, man, I don't know. So I had another one actually. So I set up another one over here, and this is the major zone that I described in that video that I was talking about, and that's over here. So if you look at it from a daily perspective, let's go back to the daily. The price is at 17,103 or 17,024, like in that general area, right? I was saying that this little break and retest that's happening over here, right? There wasn't really there's actually a big gap in between, and that's kind of where I'm playing this whole like fair value or whatever it's called, right? So I'm saying it's got to come down to this little wick over here. So let's go down to the 4 hour and I'll show you what I'm saying. So if you look down over here where this bar is that I placed, and I placed this support and resistance zone back when I did the weekend episode last weekend. And look at this, right? So before it goes back up, it's got all this stuff over here. So it broke out over here. So I'm thinking maybe I'll put some sort of a buy order here, which I have now. The thing is, though, I did get a bounce right in the middle of this zone, and it's like, again, like super proud of that. But and I sold it, right? So if you can see here, I had this good position. And I'm just reviewing my trade here, right? Like, that's a great position. 1 to 1.76 ratio. I'll take it. I think that was about 30 bucks. But again, once I started to add over here, it broke even and that screwed me. I fucked myself over again on gold, unfortunately. Like, I'm a little bit confused. So it's making this pattern if you did go down to the 1 hour. And look, it broke out over here. I'm trying to wait for it to come back. I should have bought right here. I really should have bought. I don't know why. I think I tried to make a sell here, by the way. So this sell over here, I pussied out. I just, like, this is a working trade, but it says it's good, right? But I pussied out. So when it came up over here and dropped, I added a bunch of positions over here. But once it went back up over here, for some reason, it shook me out. I just said, you know what, like, it's not worth it. And I exited right up here. So while this trade would have been great, and I mean, look at that, man. It's like right, it wicks right where I placed the TP, you know? I feel like I need to just have more confidence in my trades. I mean, I've been getting some pretty good entries. So it's just on gold and Nasdaq and things like that, the position size is, even the smallest position size is quite large for my account or for this specific, like, you know, trading journey that I'm doing here. So I tend to get scared, but it is what it is. Anyway, so as it broke out over here, I added a bunch of entries. Like, for example, I have this entry over here. I really do think it's going to come down over here and bounce back up. And by over here, I mean the 2347 area. The reality is, once I saw this big bar, I wasn't really sure if it's going to come down again. So when it came back down here, I placed this trade. And again, it's a valid trade. And I moved this stop loss up. Really, it was like this, which again is a valid trade. It's still valid to this day. The problem is, once it came down to here and it started to go underneath this bar, I got a little scared, even though there's a lot of area here. There's a lot of orders down here that need to be sort of mitigated, right? But I got scared and I backed out. So right there, I lost like 30, 40 bucks. And right now I'm sitting back right under 300, about like 280 or something like that. But yeah, that's how my week went. I went back up to wherever I was at the starting of the week, but then I lost it all on Friday making stupid calls. So turns out three out of those 4 trades were actually solid trades. I quit early or I let it sort of cascade after I started adding positions. So it might have been not been worth it at the time. All right, so looking at the daily in the Dow, there's this kind of action that was happening over here. This seems like a break and retest, goes all the way up to this area, and then drops like crazy. So clearly there's a lot of selling action that's happening up here, or is this just exhaustion? So if you look in the grand scheme of things, it's been going up. It's a pretty big run. Now, it's reached the sort of middle point of this channel here, and really, you know, this is where you have to make a judgment call, right? So for me, I'm not taking any Dow calls because the way the Dow is set up is a little bit different than Nasdaq, from what I understand, in terms of the sizing for stocks. So yes, you'll have big moves on the Nasdaq, but at the same time, it may not be big on the Dow, and vice versa, just because of how Dow ranks their stocks based on how they pick and stuff like that. Whereas Nasdaq is a little bit different. But either way, so support and resistance wise, if you see here, this is a really, really big zone where it was resistance, right? And then it should turn to support, but it just has not come up to retest it. Now, it could retest right here and jump back up, right? So this would be at the 36879 level. That's at the very tip of that. But I think actually it's anywhere between this 36879 and the 35779 level. So there's quite a bit of a gap. And I know even if you trade a small volume, like a small lot size or whatever, it's a pretty big number, like a big dollar amount. So if you're going to hold on to that position, if you start one right at the top of the zone here, you should be able to at least be able to pull money into it or something, which I might do on the Nasdaq, which I'll talk about in a second. But it'll be a tough position if you take it on top. My actual position will come kind of somewhere in the middle of these two, so more around what is this, the 36119 area. And part of that is because if you see here, there's a little area here that kind of consolidated and jumped up. Now I think it'll break it, but it'll get down to this level here before it went up. So around the 35759, just maybe right above that, I'll start entering position. If it goes a little further, there's still a little bit of support down here, so I can hold on at least a little bit. If I put in a small, and what I do with these kind of indexes, especially when I'm looking for a bounce, is I'll put in a small position, track it, and if it starts bouncing, I'll add in my big positions and kind of go from there. So that's really what my plan is here. And I already have an alert here, so once it hits alert, I'm going to go wait and see. Okay, now moving on to the S&P, same thing. Huge uptrend for a long time now if you look at the daily, right? And look at this. This is an exhaustion phase that happened back in, what is this, January 2022. So this was like, man, it basically went on until March, so for a few months. And we're just really now starting in the past, 3 weeks that it's been going down like this, and it's got everybody in a rush. But here's the difference. This thing dropped like really crazy, came back up, dropped, and it went for a while until it hit this one area here. And what's similar to this one area? Look at this. This was the previous resistance, right? There was clearly a very previous resistance over here. And what it's hit, if you really notice, right? If you look down here, it's hit this wick before it started bouncing. So this is sort of the retest of this breaking of this resistance over here. It is what it is. But right now, there's this really sharp uptrend that started sometime in October, I guess, and it finished up until end of Feb, early March almost is where it started to die off. And now we're getting this precipitous drop. Now, this is a pretty aggressive uptrend, so I feel like this is just exhaustion. I don't think it's going to be a downtrend continuation, but who knows. But here's what's the funny thing, right? This is what kind of gets me on some of these things. It's hard to not notice this. over here back in October when it really started climbing, there was this kind of weird W pattern or whatever, and I'm just making it up. I don't know if there's anything called W pattern, but if you look down here, where is this thing coming down to? Look at this thing. What do you see here? Does that look familiar to you? Right? There's a little bit of a kind of a gap, whatever this is, right? So I feel like it's going to bounce here at the 4764 level, and then we're going to go back to the uptrend. It's probably going to cross where we hit the highs, I guess, the recent highs at March 24th or whatever it was. So we're most likely going to go back up as soon as it comes here, but it looks like a really strong drop, so the sellers are very much in control. I personally think, though, there's this unmitigated block and it just blew right through it. So I feel like it's going to go back up and test this level at 5050.14 and then go down to touch over here. So I'll be a seller up here and I'll be a buyer down here at 4764. That's really my plan. I have alerts on both, so we're going to see how that is. And if you go down to like the 4 hour for the lower time frame, if you look over here, right, there's a little bit of a chopping action. It drops, retests, and goes down. So what I'm looking to do is I don't know if it'll come back here again, but it'll definitely come over here, so around the 5031 level, and then at that point I'll probably take a look. So you know what, I'm going to move this alert a little bit down just to hit the wicks on that before that drop there. Okay, Nasdaq, man, I've been making some pretty good calls in general for these indexes, so I'm kind of happy. I'm really not, like, I got to figure out how to add positions and when to add it. I get a little undisciplined when it comes to that kind of stuff. But anyway, right now I'm in a position. It's in a pretty big drawdown for my account. I mean, it's $20, but whatever. Like, it's not really a big deal, but I want to build this account without trying to add too much. Most likely I'm going to have to add some money, because what's going to happen, in my opinion, is, like, look at this drop, man. And it's unmitigated, right? So before it started smashing down, this whole area here at this 17934 area, it's not been touched. It's not come up. So if it comes up now, it's going to drop pretty hard and probably hit this zone, from what I understand. And by this zone, I mean the 15933 area where I put my alert. If it doesn't come up and retest here, then I feel like it's going to go straight down to the zone, and we're going to go for another ride, man. We're going to go for another ride probably for the rest of the year, up until maybe October, November, and then we'll see from there. So I might hold this position. I don't know if I can take a full drawdown. It's a 0.02 lot. I really thought I was going to bounce there. I don't know. If it comes back up, I might close that at a break even. It's still at a pretty good zone though, right? So like, if you see this kind of area, this was a previous resistance that turned into support. So technically, this is the first time it's hitting that support since, what is this, January. So we should see, and we did see a strong bounce, but if it's going to keep going down like this, then most likely it's going to just touch the next major zone. Whereas this is more of like a, in my opinion, like a sort of minor local zone. So we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping this comes up. I'll get out of break even, and we'll just see the choppy price action. So right now, you know, clearly it's just going down, man. I can't even draw a channel with this thing. It just looks like you know, just fucking curves down. That shit's crazy. So, you know, clearly the sellers are in control. You know, maybe it's just all the same people that have sort of rode the wave all the way up here, and they're just selling their positions now. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I'm gonna wait for this. If it breaks the zone, I'm going to wait till it gets to this area, because I don't really see another place that it bounces at. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong or what. I did want to bring up this one thing. This is a very kind of crucial thing, and all the indexes are kind of doing this right now. I just wanted to show you this. See this now? This is back in November 2021, right? This is the previous highs before we went into that massive shit show of a fucking economy for the next like year and a half. The thing is, if you draw this line, if you extend this zone a little bit, right, that I drew here, this is a huge support zone. Huge, man. This is like, look at the amount of fucking orders that were up here, right? Between the months of, what is this? November, yeah. So November to January of 2021, 2022. Huge amount of action right here. So once it gets back into this zone, I really think it's going to react. And the way I think it's going to go is up. And I'm going to start placing a lot of bets over here in terms of it for it to go up. So I don't know. Let's see how that works. And it's also, here's the thing, right? So there's a huge bull flag right here, and it goes up, but then it's not retested really. There's a soft retest that happened over here, and that might very much be the last time. It might stop right here in between this and then go back up. But the thing I wanted to show you guys is what I'm seeing, at least. And again, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can, you know, if you feel like I'm not right here, that's fine. Just let me know. So if you really think about it, this is kind of like a interesting triangle pattern, right? Like, this is like a little bit of a bull flag, right? And then you have this triangle pattern here. Apart from the triangle pattern, you can even draw this kind of trend line to see the really bottom points where it'll start bouncing, and we're not that far from it. So is it possible that it comes down to here and retests, and it can maybe hits this little support area here? Yeah, it's possible. But like, I feel like, you know, we're gonna touch this area and then bounce off, because see, this was resistance, turned this to This was resistance. It came down. This was a hard resistance, and it barely touched it a little bit, flagged, and then went back up. And this retest was a soft retest from a daily perspective, from a long-term perspective. So if I take positions here, I'm going to hold it for quite a while. That's really the plan. I'm really hoping for the retest over here, but I don't want to lose this position. I'm hoping that it can go up and at least touch back to this little zone that we had back in March, mid-March, late February, because I feel like maybe it'll retest that and then come down. So we might see months of kind of drawdown and then spike back up for the unforeseeable future. But that's my general idea. We're gonna see. We have all the alerts set up already, and we're gonna see what happens. Right now, it's already at the area. Unfortunately, it's a 0.2 lot for me, which is like a pretty big size. So I should have entered a 0.1 just to watch, but it is what it is. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. I don't know. This is just how I'm gonna apply my trades. Seems like so far I've had some pretty good days. It's just the bad days that have come up have mainly been because I just keep adding to shit at the wrong time. Either that or I just get the trade wrong, and that happens, right? It's not a 100% thing, and whatever. I'm okay with that. But man, it's frustrating. I can't lie to you. It's fucking annoying, the markets, right? So sometimes the direction just changes on you, and you just gotta stomach that truth. But that's what it's been on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday and Thursday were great days, and Friday I kind of lost it all. And all you can do is kind of plan for it and see what happens. So I have all this stuff set up. I'm gonna do a forex sort of review, and just to see all the stuff I've been trading for forex, to plan that out. So stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to trade this week into a profit, man. I gotta get this account back up. This thing went from like $60 to like 900, back down to like 500, and then now it's at 280 or 290. So it's starting to get annoying. At this point, I want to get it over 500 and reset a little bit, and then plan some more stuff out. So I'll take a break after this week and clear out my charts and redraw this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you like it, if you think I'm wrong, I don't know. Subscribe or don't. Who gives a shit? You guys have a great weekend.